Beatitudes are not quaint poetic lines to embroider on Christian Pinterest boards or coffee mugs gilded in pastel hues. They are in their original form, a manifesto, a battle cry whispered from a mountaintop. Not soft, not safe, not sanitized for suburban sensibilities. Let's dive in and learn more. What Jesus spoke in Matthew 5 wasn't merely good advice. It was an upheaval, a divine disruption, a kingdom blueprint for rebels who dare to live upside down in a world obsessed with right-side-up power. For Gen Z, restless, overinformed, emotionally exhausted, but spiritually hungry, this isn't just ancient wisdom. It's revolution wrapped in paradox. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. He starts with poverty, not financial, but spiritual. A soul cracked wide open, the opposite of curated Instagram perfection, a kind of holy bankruptcy. Jesus is saying, if you've run out of yourself, you're right where you need to be. Gen Z, with its collective disillusionment with institutions, its rejection of performative faith, already understands this emptiness. It's not about pretending you have it all together. It's about standing before God with open hands, saying, I'm wrecked. I've got nothing, but I want you. That's where the kingdom begins. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Mourning is not weakness. In a culture drowning in escapism, dopamine scrolls, curated personas, dark humor masking darker pain, Jesus doesn't tell you to numb it, deny it, or dress it up in fake optimism. He invites you to grieve, to break, to weep, and in doing so, to be comforted, not by distractions or denial, but by the Holy Spirit, the Comforter himself. I've mourned, quietly, alone, in the shower, fists clenched, wondering why a loving God feels so silent in the thick of my ache. But his comfort comes not always in thunderclaps, but in the gentle hush of presence, in the slow mending of soul tissue. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Meekness has been tragically mistranslated by a world addicted to dominance. Meekness is not weakness. It's power under control. A lion with its claws sheathed. Gen Z, constantly labeled lazy or entitled, knows the irony of powerlessness, how society shouts at them to fix what it broke. But true meekness doesn't fight for the scraps of status. It waits on God. It inherits, not by force, but by faith. The meek are the ones who hold back when they could lash out. They absorb, endure, persist. And in the end, they win more than just the moment. They inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Hunger, not for popularity or likes or social justice theater, but for righteousness, for things to be made right, for integrity, justice, and wholeness. It's a craving that cuts deep, not shallow. I've known that ache, that furious longing for a world that mirrors heaven, for inner peace that can't be bought or posted. Jesus doesn't rebuke the hunger. He promises to satisfy it, not with spiritual fast food, but with a feast of truth. But only the starving get fed. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Mercy is unpopular. Cancel culture doesn't comprehend it. The court of public opinion rarely offers it. But Jesus demands it. Mercy is messy. It requires releasing the right to retaliate, and yet, it's the very heartbeat of the gospel. When you extend mercy, you mirror Christ, who offered it to you when you didn't deserve it. Gen Z, weary of fake virtue and online outrage, has a unique opportunity to make mercy cool again. Not by ignoring justice, but by embodying grace. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Purity isn't about moralistic rule-keeping. It's not a list of don'ts. It's a fire-forged focus, a singleness of vision. The pure in heart are those who want God more than anything else. They aren't distracted by the algorithms, the aesthetics, the applause. They burn for clarity. And in that clarity, they glimpse God. Not just someday, but here. Now. In the sacred ordinary. In the pain. In the person in front of them. The promise isn't reserved for priests or perfect people. It's for the pure-hearted ones who push past the noise to fix their eyes on Him. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Not peacekeepers, peacemakers, not passive, not silent. Peacemakers wade into the chaos and bring calm. They speak truth in love. They build bridges, not walls. They confront injustice without becoming unjust. They fight, but differently. In an age of digital warfare and identity politics, Jesus invites Gen Z into a bolder, better mission. Not to win arguments, but to win hearts. And in doing so, they're recognized, not by the world, but by the Father, as His. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is where the Beatitudes take a sharp left turn from self-help to spiritual warfare. Jesus doesn't promise safety. He promises persecution. If you're doing it right, you won't always fit. You'll be mocked, misunderstood, marginalized, especially if you follow Christ in a world that crucified Him. But that pain is proof of alignment. It means you're pushing against the current. And He says, paradoxically, gloriously, that you're blessed. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad. This isn't masochism. It's perspective. If they hated Him, they'll hate you. But your reward is not here. It's not in the likes, the applause, the algorithms. It's in the kingdom that's coming and already breaking in. The Beatitudes are not Instagram captions. They are kingdom codes. Each one confronts the system. Each one contradicts the ego. Each one pulls you deeper into the radical love of Christ and His cruciform way of life. They don't flatter. They form. They don't coddle. They call. For Gen Z who've grown up in a world on fire, with climate collapse, political chaos, sexual confusion, digital addiction, and collapsing meaning, the Beatitudes are not relics. They're rescue. They are blueprints for holy rebellion. A call to live beautifully subversive lives in a world that screams for compromise and conformity. I remember reading them as a teenager, assuming they were sweet-sounding slogans for Sunday school. But now, older, bruised, more human, I see the fire behind the poetry. I feel the rawness in every line. And I realized Jesus wasn't trying to make us feel better. He was calling us to be better. Not better than others, but better than the systems we're trapped in. The Beatitudes make sense when the world doesn't. They speak to the exiled, the overlooked, the ones with cracked screens and cracked hearts who still dare to hope. They don't require you to be perfect. They require you to be present, to show up, poor and mourning, meek and hungry, merciful and pure, to become a peacemaker in a war zone, and to suffer for something real. And that's the wild, wonderful twist. These blessings aren't earned, they're inherited. Not by the proud, but by the broken. Not by the loud, but by the lowly. Not by the flexers, but by the faithful. Jesus didn't come for the curated. He came for the crushed, and He still does. So if you're Gen Z and feel like you don't belong here, it might be because you don't. Not to this world anyway. You were made for a different kingdom. A kingdom that begins in mourning and ends in glory. A kingdom whose king doesn't ride war horses but donkeys, who doesn't wear crowns of gold but thorns, who doesn't crush enemies but dies for them. The Beatitudes are His beat, His rhythm, His revolution. It's not soft, it's sacred. Not cliché, it's cosmic. So read them again. Slowly. Let them wreck you. Let them rebuild you. Because the kingdom of heaven isn't just coming, it's already here, beating beneath the rib cages of the ones who dare to believe.
Smash that like button, drop a comment, and hit subscribe. Then check out Faith Mode. where premium streetwear meets gospel grit. faithmode.com.